feel like I'm stuck in this cycle that the majority of people feel like they're in.
So I was getting no answers and everything was just getting worse.
The thought in my head every day was, if I'm like this in my 30s, what am I going to be 50, 60 years old? I can't move.
Food is medicine.
In my late teens and early 20s, I experienced debilitating fatigue. Endless tests accompanied with rigorous medication and supplement regimens were of no help. I actually think they further wore out my body. In over 10 years, I consulted 15 different physicians, and nobody told me that food was an important factor in my health. About 3 years ago, I heard an ultra athlete talk about plant-based eating. I thought, if it's good enough for him, it has to be good enough for me. I started getting in a lot more nutrient-dense whole foods and felt like a new person. I felt healing I never felt before.
When I was 15, I developed a breathing problem. That was when my health seemed to take a turn. Doctors tried to put me on every kind of inhaler and I had every type of breathing test done. No one could find a solution. Looking back, I think it was all adrenal fatigue. Adrenal hormones handle stress, and that affects many areas of your body's chemistry. When we couldn't figure out the breathing issues, we resorted to unconventional methods, like an eye reader and a holistic nurse who told my mom to get more whole foods in my diet. We didn't exactly get what she meant. Fast forward to college age, I wasn't getting any answers and I'd gained some weight I wasn't used to. I saw my fatigue the most. I was sleeping 12 hours a night and then sleeping through class, wearing sweatpants every day. I felt no motivation to exercise. I gained more weight. I was about 25 pounds and 5 sizes more than what I used to be. It kept me from socializing and my self-confidence was at an all-time low. I didn't feel like myself in more ways than one. At age 22, I tore my left ACL playing volleyball and had a hard time recovering. I was extremely tired. I decided to go to a whole food supplement doctor. She did diagnose me with adrenal fatigue. She did encourage me to eat well, but also had me take a lot of supplements. I ended up getting one of those geriatric pill trays, and they were full, and I was a slave to the trays and taking them throughout my day. I saw no improvement. At some point in all this, I did try diet pills. Of course, I also tried other health remedies throughout this, hoping something would make me feel normal again. I tried the Bragg ACV drink, other cleanse kits, the light that mimics the sun from my office, a standing desk in my office, and my ears perked up at the next new cleanse people were talking about. Nothing healed me and nothing allowed me to lose weight. I felt stuck. At age 25, I tore my second ACL and I got a road bike to rehab my knee faster. And I started listening to a podcast by Rich Roll, and Rich was overweight and out of shape at age 40, and he decided to go plant-based. And he decided to compete in an Ultraman, which is a double Ironman, which is 260 miles of biking, 50 miles of running, and I think 7 miles of swimming. So at age 40, not only was he finishing, but he was placing in those races, which is why I thought if it was good enough for him, it has to be good enough for me. I did not go plant-based overnight. I just started making green shakes and tried his chia seed pudding recipe. I felt more stabilized in the day, not getting shaky or cravings like I used to. I took it another step. I started making plant-based dinners. Italian quinoa balls, spaghetti squash with guacamole, and cashew cheese pizza. I was feeling more energy, not feeling as hungry, and my cravings were subsiding. My body was so satisfied in the nutrients I was getting that I didn't need as much food. I realized a lot of the food I was eating in the past was void of nutrition, which is why I still felt hungry soon after eating a full meal. I kept taking it a step up, making more recipes, making some of my own as I went, and creating a system to get the groceries and prepare the food. I felt more energy to work out. I used to hate running. I just started taking off running, biking, and hiking. I wanted to be outdoors more. I wasn't exercising out of obligation. I just felt better when I worked out. And I was back to my high school size of pants and feeling the best I have felt in over 15 years. Suddenly, health issues I didn't even know I had started righting themselves. I wasn't getting wild sugar cravings in the afternoon. I suddenly started craving the things my body actually needed, and I got excited about food. I slept well at night and woke up refreshed. Most surprisingly was the shift in my internal monologue. I felt better, which helped me to start thinking more positively, which helped motivate me to eat better. It was like suddenly getting healthy was gaining momentum. And then when I did decide to let myself eat something I used to love, suddenly it didn't taste good. Not just my physical health was affected, but my mental and emotional health too. I didn't know I had an unhealthy relationship with food until I experienced what a healthy one felt like. I eat to live now instead of living to eat. After about a year of changing my diet, I started to post photos of my dinner creations. I wanted to show people plant-based foods could be really hearty and delicious. A few women asked me to teach a class about it. In October 2014, I hosted a Saturday afternoon class and invited all of my Facebook friends. 30 people came out to hear my story for the first time. I realized I loved inspiring, teaching, and empowering people to change their lives with food. In February of 2015, I started the company Back to Roots to lead an effort in Defiance to teach people that food is medicine. I wanted to offer what I wanted to have available when I started going plant-based. I've known Becca since college. She's a dear friend, so I was concerned when she started talking about severe symptoms she was experiencing. She had tingling and numbness in her arms, chest pains, and an array of scary MS-like symptoms. She asked me to go to an MRI appointment with her, fearing the results, and that's when I realized the seriousness of her symptoms.
You had a lot of health issues, and when was this?
This would have started probably a year and a half ago.
What were the symptoms? What were you experiencing?
Well, I thought it was just stress related because I was starting to get numbness and tingling in my left arm, and I would have chest pains and difficulty breathing. But this was in tandem with trying to finish grad school with an overload of coursework and working 3 different jobs and doing stuff at the church. And my schedule was just unreal, and I was really underslept. So I thought maybe if I just sleep more, it will be fine. And instead, sleeping more didn't really make it worse, but it didn't help at all. My symptoms just kept getting worse and worse. And so I would have blurred vision and slurred speech, and I would have trouble catching my breath and feel like my throat was swelling. There were like nights after nights where I thought I was just going to die because I was having all of these really erratic symptoms, and I would tell my doctor, and I would go in, like I'd call and say, I need to make an appointment for these symptoms, and just try to go see my standard doctor, and they wouldn't let me. They'd say, you have to go to the ER. We cannot take you for just an appointment or a checkup. Your symptoms are so serious, you have to go to the ER. And I would go, and they would check all my vitals, and I would be fine. So I was getting no answers, and everything was just getting worse. And so I was really sort of grasping at straws for what could be wrong, and I never would have assumed that it had anything to do with my diet.
What was the lowest point of all the symptoms and not getting answers and them running tests to no avail? When was that?
That would have been the summer of this past year. And that was when I finally
Summer 2014?
Yeah, summer 2014.
Okay.
So that lowest point would have been when I finally got established with a primary care physician, because I was having the hardest time finding one to just sort of establish care and check up on my symptoms. And when I finally did, she was over at Mercy, and she was walking me through my symptoms, and things like constant tingling and losing feeling in your limbs and shortness of breath and blurred vision and bouts of slurred speech. That is all classic MS. And so she was talking me through what it looks like to be treated for MS, to make sure that I get the appropriate testing in case I have MS. But to have the prolonged symptoms that I did, she couldn't think of any other diagnosis that would fit me well. And so that was when, I thought it was just stress. And for her to say, you might have multiple sclerosis, that was the low point.
So when was the change, or what made you change? When did you start to look at things differently?
I went to your house for just a friendly visit, and we were hanging out.
I was thinking you were going to say at my first fall demo thing.
Oh, Brooke.
I forgot about this.
The first fall demo was quite powerful for me. But no, it was not at that moment. It was just in friendly conversation with you, because you have always talked about healthy eating, but you were always, just to be candid, that friend who never stops talking about healthy eating. And so I thought, okay, this probably doesn't apply to me because I do eat healthy. Like, why is Brooke trying to preach to the choir? But when we were hanging out that evening, you were talking about a lady that you knew who had been diagnosed with MS, and there had been some research done on plant-based eating and how that can affect MS symptoms. And I hadn't been diagnosed with it yet. And they hadn't, I mean, it was just preliminary discussions about me potentially having this disease. But I was at such a breaking point and so frustrated from just sleepless nights and like legitimate pain because numbness and tingling in your arm for days on end starts to throb and is just like, is just miserably uncomfortable.
How do you feel as far as like energy levels? Is that different from what you had before?
Oh yeah, I would say especially eating a diversity of nutrients increases my energy. Sometimes I get stressed and I'm busy and I will just boil a head of cauliflower and then that is the nutrients that I get like alongside whatever I'm able to make that day. And that's when I don't feel a big spike in energy. But if I make like a quinoa and black bean salad with the shredded carrots and the cilantro, then I notice a huge difference energy-wise.
For people that say they're too busy to eat for their health or eat whole foods, what do you say? Because you're like one of the most busy people I know.
I sympathize with their complaint because it is. Yeah. It's very time consuming to go to the store and pick out fresh produce, especially if you don't know how to pronounce that produce or what makes it fresh or how to prepare it. And then to do vegetable prep takes a long time, and to cook that stuff and to make it work does require time and energy. But I think if you manage your schedule in such a way that you can prep a few meals for the week and keep them, it's not like you have to go to the store and buy the ingredients and prep them and make them all in the same day. You can do that on a Sunday and stretch your meals out.
So how would you explain like your relationship with food before and what food meant to you versus what food means to you now?
Food was just like the baseline commodity. And now I understand food to have such an important effect on my health that while I don't let it be the only thing that consumes my life, I don't plan my day around vegetable prep and meal prep because I have to have the most energy to go on my super long run because I'm super healthy. Like, that's not my lifestyle at all. My lifestyle is very much, I'm going to pack this thing in my bag real quick so I can run to work because I'm going to sit at a desk all day. The food choices that I make are colored by the fact that I understand food to be like a medicine or like a poison. And so while I'm grabbing the quick thing for my bag, it's a piece of fruit or it's a piece of chicken that it boiled instead of the snack wrap from McDonald's or the bag of chips.
I met Ryan at the store when I was getting groceries. He had 5 gallons of almond milk in his basket at checkout, and I asked him if they were on sale. But mostly I was curious about this guy being another Whole Foods advocate. Turns out he was. He came to my demo in October last year and started to incorporate green shakes every morning before his workout because of the demo. I got to know more about Ryan over the last year and found his story unique because he wasn't motivated by pain or looming disease to change. Ryan was motivated purely by being unhappy and where he was at with his body and fitness.
I'm excited to hear about your health story because I haven't heard the full story. We talked about it a little last time, but I didn't get to hear the full thing. So Ryan was not like a lot of other health stories where he, had some life-threatening disease or anything like that, but he wasn't happy with his body and where he was at with his physical shape. So I love his story because he just really wanted to feel better about himself. So Ryan's going to share about his story and like what the pivotal moment was, what the change point was.
The first change I made was portion control, and that worked for my first initial weight loss years ago. I dropped all the way from 225 all the way down to 175. I kind of slacked off on it and ended up going back to my old eating habits and broke the 200-point barrier again, or 200-pound barrier, and thought, I better get this under control. And then my first child came along, and I thought, well, I'm going to need more energy. So that's when I started to make the big diet changes. I didn't do much portion control change. I went directly to cutting out. I tried to cut out one thing at a time and make it about a month or two until I knew I was past that point, and then I would cut something else out. So I started with breads. I cut out all breads. I cut out dairy. all except Greek yogurt. And that took about 2 years for me to finally cut that out.
Because you're trying to avoid like what caused a lot of issues for people, which was dairy and gluten?
Right.
Okay.
And then I rolled into other processed foods. I started cutting those out. So now I stick with basic fruits, veggies, simple meats, chicken, fish. I have red meat probably once a week.
So this started like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, probably about 6 years
Was
ago.
your main complaint like body image and how you felt about yourself, or was it also low energy?
Low energy.
Okay.
and the body weight.
Okay.
I was in size 32 pants for years and years and years, and all of a sudden I was at 34. It's not a big deal. And then I'm in 36s, and I can't even squeeze in 34s anymore. And I thought, no, I don't. When my waist was bigger than my legs, I started to get upset with myself.
Your biggest change has just been like cutting out processed foods.
That's yeah. I try to stick to the whole food diet.
And that's been for what, the last 2 years?
Probably going close to 3 years now.
Okay. And you get in the weight room.
I come in probably 5 days a week at least, and spend maybe a total of 2 hours a day, tops. Some days I'm in here for 45 minutes to an hour.
How would you feel if you had like the old body and you were in a situation right now with work, with your girls, with every aspect of your life? How would that impact your life in a different way?
I know it would be driving me crazy, because then I feel like I'm stuck in this cycle that the majority of people feel like they're in, where it's work, kids, eat and sleep, and that's it. And what happens is personal care falls to the side, not hygiene, but just body care. And then, it just rolls into more weight gain.
A lot of people that say it's too time consuming, or I don't have enough time to prep, meal prep and all that stuff. What I say is, I think it makes you feel a lot better, which in turn makes you a lot more productive in work, in your home life, in your marriage. You feel more confident. You, I think, get things done better. So I think it gives you more time by putting in like an extra hour or whatever of prep it is a day.
Yeah, and you're right, the confidence thing is big. And finding time was hard. I had to find time, and the only time I could find to not because I didn't want to interfere with family time, because it's already limited by work, was I get up at 4:30 in the morning while everybody's still sleeping, get my workout in, and then I go on to work.
Ryan involves his daughters a little bit in the whole food stuff. He doesn't totally restrict them, but I think he does a good job helping them to be around it and feed them healthy stuff. So I want to hear a little bit about that, like what the routine is.
We push fruits and veggies on them, and we have since the day they were born. I mean, they're only 3.5 and 2, but I mean, that was always pushing fresh fruits and veggies. And that's still, we were just filling out my oldest daughter's preschool application, and it said what are her favorite foods, and we wrote down fruits and veggies, because that's it. She'll eat almost any fruit that you put in front of her. She's really good with vegetables. The younger one, she still is pretty good. She's not as good as the older one. She's a little more picky, but she's still, we know what fruits and veggies that they eat, so we stick to those. We try, with milk, we stick with almond and coconut milk. Eggs is a big protein source for them. A little bit, the older one likes chicken, the younger one doesn't like it. Just trying to feel it out. Red meats, neither one of them really care for any red meats.
I brought a shake for Ryan to try for his workout that he's going to do, and there's oat milk in it. Have you ever had oat milk?
I have not had oat milk.
It's really simple. All you're basically doing is blending up water and oats to make oat milk, which is a good milk alternative, and it's gluten-free too. So I did oat milk, sunflower butter, and then I had these frozen cubes of banana and strawberries frozen with a little bit of maple syrup in them. So I put the cubes in there. I think that's it. I think I had some sea salt in it, but Ryan's gonna get powered up.
That is big.
You don't make them that big?
Oh, in the mornings I do. Yeah. It's good.
Ryan's a real food critic. A real food critic. Like, he can taste all the nuances and everything, and so he's very particular.
Giving you
And
some-
so if he says this is good, then it's a winner. Cheers
Cheers.
to Whole Foods.
Lori came to one of my demos early in 2015. She was more than excited because she had her own health story to share. A very impressive story, I might add. In her own circles, she's been sharing that food is medicine for years. So she was elated when she met someone trying to broadcast this to a larger audience. Lori's story is remarkable. She is having a second life at age 50, all because she took a long, hard look at her food choices and decided to draw a line in the sand. She makes very conscious choices about what she puts in her body, knowing it can be medicine.
Recap the start of your 30s, like when the awakening happened and why. What was like the pivotal moment?
Well, in my early 30s, I got a little scared because I would wake up in the mornings and I couldn't walk. Like I would literally shuffle my feet. I would be so stiff and I would hurt so bad. And I've got this little step up into my kitchen and I would literally grab that door jamb to get up that step in the morning. And the thought in my head every day was, if I'm like this in my 30s, what am I going to be 50, 60 years old? I can't move. I just decided one day that I would try for 3 days. I would just cut everything. I would cut out sugar and dairy and eggs and corn and
All the major allergens.
all the
and
major
stuff.
allergens. And I just ate meat and fruits and vegetables. And the fourth morning of that diet, I crawled out of bed and I could walk. I had no pain. I could step up that step, and I literally sat down and cried.
This wasn't like anything identified, like rheumatoid arthritis or anything like that.
No.
Just like
No.
real stiff, achy.
It was almost like I hadn't been to a doctor for it, but it was almost like a fibromyalgia. And I can remember even having like sharp pain just go through my joints. And
at that time you weighed how much?
236.
Was that your highest?
That was my highest.
Okay.
I was a size 24.
Okay.
And so I called an allergist and I got in. He tested me for 13 foods. They had to quit because I was getting really ill from the test. They diagnosed me irritable bowel syndrome, which just basically means you have bowel problems that we can't tell you where they're coming from or what they are, but yeah,
It's
you
irritable.
have something.
Deal
Yeah.
with it.
So 4.5 years going to the gym, lost 90 pounds, and suddenly I started gaining weight back. And it didn't matter what I did. I added a ridiculous another hour workout at the end of the day. I'd go in the morning, go again at night, and I just kept gaining. I went to the doctor.
So you were losing mostly because of the amount of exercise,
I think
you didn't
so.
do any
I don't-
shift in diet.
Well, I gave up wheat
Okay.
and corn and eggs and dairy and sugar. I could eat beet sugar, but not corn sugar. So I was following that all to a T. And I didn't cheat at all. Not at all.
Were you feeling better?
I did feel better.
You just had the weight gain.
I just had the weight gain coming back. Once the weight started coming back, I eventually just threw in the towel and just went back. I was probably 37, 38.
And gave up,
Gave up.
the sensitivity, like the specific
Yep,
diet.
I went right back. It was a slow thing. It was like cheat here, cheat there, and then suddenly I was back, and I was back 215 pounds. Just before my 50th birthday, I went in for my physical. My cholesterol was up to 198. My bad cholesterol was high. My blood pressure that normally ran low was up to pre-hypertensive. I was trying to convince myself that the weight wasn't an issue, that I just needed to eat to be healthy, and if I lost the weight, great. If I didn't, great, but I needed to be healthy. In July, my dear sweet Cassie suggested that I start training to run a 5K, which I thought she was nuts, but I agreed.
This is the year that you're 50.
That I'm 50.
Okay. And you're at what weight at this time?
215.
Okay.
By October, I was running 3 miles 3 days a week, and I was down 50 pounds. I cut all gluten out of my diet and dropped another 8 pounds in 2 weeks, and I down a total of 75 pounds within a year,
So,
which is mind-boggling to me.
Because the first time it took like 4
It
years to lose almost
melted.
that amount.
It melted. I couldn't believe, I would step on the scales and it was just dropping like crazy.
So now you're just sticking with real food.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably like me where you don't obsess and like necessarily pack food everywhere. Like for instance, at a cookout or something, I might just eat what people have available and then get right back on to what I was doing.
Well,
when I can
we go
control
out
it.
for pizza or something. I'll take a gluten-ease and I'll eat. It's not a daily thing. It's a once in a while thing.
So the main things that eating real food has changed for you.
Oh my gosh, I feel so much better, and I can't believe I've never been athletic. I can run 3 miles. I mean, that still,
Blows your mind.
to look at the pictures and to think where I came from and to see me, you know, it's unbelievable.
Do you want to show them the picture? Shows a little photograph to show. You want to tell them what's what?
This was me at 236 pounds in my 30s. This was me running my first 5K just 7 months after my 50th birthday. And this is me just this spring.
I love that right now it's, 23 years later that you're in much better health and feel so much better than
I know,
you did.
is it
I love
crazy?
It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. Even you're older now and you're doing more activeness than you were before. What do you say to people that say, it takes too much time, I don't have time to prepare food?
I have no time. That's what I say. I don't cook. I don't like to cook, and I don't have time. So when I do cook, I cook in abundance.
Okay.
Like I'll do a whole pound of hamburger, make
Okay.
hamburger patties,
Okay.
or I'll fix 4 pieces of fish and put it on the fridge, or I'll steam a whole big thing of vegetables, or I'll mash a whole thing of cauliflower.
So what's the difference between you, who's crazy busy, and the other person that says they're crazy busy, but you prepare food and you make it work? What's the difference?
There's no difference.
No, the difference is you make it a
Well,
major
I make it a priority,
right?
but there isn't any reason why they
Right,
can't
right.
either. You're cooking anyways. You're going to eat anyways. So there isn't any reason. And I've told a lot of people who have called me and said, what do you eat? Because I don't have time. And I'll be like, you going to cook a hamburger patty? Why can't you cook 4 instead of 1?
So is there anything else you want to tell Defiance about whole foods, eating to live well, food is medicine?
I know it's so cliche to say, if I could do it, you can do it. But if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been athletic a day in my life, and I've done 5Ks. At age 50, I did a 5K. That's mind-boggling. I've gone from 236 down to 147 pounds, and I've maintained it.
You weigh
And
less than me now.
What I do with my free time and what I make priority has undoubtedly changed for me. I am much more closely connected to my food. I love cooking meals with my husband and incorporating new and exciting things to try. More of our lives are centered around planning meals, getting groceries, and introducing people to new food. And that's a fabulous thing. I spend a lot more time being active on my bike, walking my dogs, and doing activities with friends like kayaking or hiking. We were meant for movement like we were meant for eating foods close to their natural state. The two go hand in hand. A lot of people ask me about some health issue they have, from acne to chronic headaches, and they'll wonder if eating better would help. And I say yes, it can help alleviate or eliminate many issues. Let's at least make sure what we're putting in our bodies every day is good and wholesome before we start looking at other procedures or medications.
There are many things that affect our overall well-being, like stress, the environment, and the amount of exercise we get. What we eat is not only the most impactful, but the one factor we have the most control over. Every bite is a choice.